Hello dear friends, as promised, today I'm giving you the first rule of a private investor. I'm Andrey Khhovratov, the author and the founder of the Academy of Private Investing. In this tutorial, we are going to talk about something important, which is shaping the right investment thinking. Back in 2009, I attended a workshop on finance and investing on Cyprus, and the lecturer said one important thing. If a person doesn't develop the right investment thinking, there is no point investing money. They will lose it anyway. The first rule gives you the basic knowledge on how to create the right investment thinking. What are we going to learn? What financial independence is and how it differs from financial freedom. Next, we will learn what investing is and how it is different from investments. We will learn about financial flows and what to do to get into the financial flow of the rich class. Yes, the financial flow of the rich. We will also understand what assets and liabilities are. So, dear friends, let's get down to it. First, financial independence and financial freedom. What is the difference? Seemingly, it's the same. Finance here, finance there. But in one case, it's independence, and in the other, it's freedom. A simple formula, a simple algorithm. Financial independence is when you have enough money to live 10 years without working, and your standard of living won't change. For example, your monthly spendings are $1,000. Multiply that by 12 months, and you get $12,000. Multiply that by 10 years, and it's $120,000. If you have $120,000, you can consider yourself financially independent. What is financial freedom and the formula of financial freedom? It is when you have capital that yields you a return which is sufficient to cover your monthly spendings and at the same time your capital grows too. Let me give you a simple example. Say you have $120,000 and you receive a 10% return per annum, i.e. 1% per month, which is roughly $1,000 per month. What if you are able to invest that money at 24% per annum, which is $2,000 per month, or even 36%, which is 3% and $3,000 per month? Now you can spend more and increase your standard of living to $1,500 or $2,000 and reinvest the remaining amount for capital gains. This is what financial freedom means. And here's the formula of financial freedom. Financial freedom is when you have enough money to live 30 years without changing your standard of living. When you have enough money for 30 years, you are financially free. Now we know what financial independence and financial freedom are. To get to financial independence or freedom, one needs to understand what financial flow they're in. Let's look into three types of financial flows. The financial flow of the poor class, the financial flow of the middle class, and the financial flow of the rich class. So, the financial flow of the poor class, what is it? A person earned $1,000 and spent $1,000. A person earned $10,000 in 1 month and spent $10,000, or a person earned $10,000 and spent $15,000. Because they borrow $5,000 from someone and tell them, when this deal goes through, I will pay you back. If they live following this principle, then it doesn't matter how much they earn. They live in the financial flow of the poor class. When I was a young guy, I was 18 or 20, people started setting up cooperatives before the collapse of the Soviet Union. I thought I would make a lot of money and therefore become a rich person. And I was lucky. I launched several businesses and started making a lot of money. But curiously enough, when at the end of the month I calculated my balance, I realized I had very little left. I asked myself why I wasn't rich making tens of thousands of dollars a month, why I didn't feel rich. This is the financial flow of the poor class. I was making tens of thousands of dollars a month, and I spent tens of thousands of dollars a month too. I thought if I was rich, then I could spend. This is a principle by which poor people live. And what is the middle class and the financial flow of the middle class? It's when a person has income and expenses like a person in the financial flow of the poor class, but also has a good salary, has a good standing with the bank, and is creditworthy. They understand the notion of assets and liabilities. Their expenses are categorized into daily, monthly, and expenses dictated by circumstances, such as financial obligations before the bank. And a person lives by this principle, makes money. They take loans and pay them. But then they may face a problem, a serious problem too. A person can take a loan to buy a car or take out a mortgage, and the financial sector tells them, take a loan, live on a loan. Almost everyone today lives on a loan. Businesses develop because of loans. And this is not a good trend. If a person loses their source of income and still has outstanding obligations, then they not only move to the financial flow of the poor class, but also become debtors. I have a course called 5 Levels of a Private Investor, and there are levels there called negative and zero. That person has become a negative investor because they took a loan and need to pay that loan. They have lost their job, but still have to pay the loan. So they have got caught in a mousetrap. Money came and then went away. They spent it on their obligations, liabilities, because the middle class have a lot of liabilities and no assets. And if a person is in a bad situation, loses their job, goes bankrupt, they can't pay their obligations. And they move, as I said, to the financial flow of the poor class. Look back at the history. What happened in 1998, 2008, and 2020? The crisis should have happened in 2018, but it was delayed until 2020. And that's when the pandemic hit. Whatever is happening to this world, many people lost their job, businesses are crumbling, people have obligations, producers and business professionals have obligations before banks. The system is collapsing, but mind you, the obligations of entrepreneurs or business professionals, or simply individuals before the financial sector stay. Therefore, dear friends, I personally think that taking a loan to buy a car or housing is so-called golden handcuffs, which turn into golden shackles and slave shackles. Because this entire system and the situation with the middle class reminds me of slavery, financial slavery. Did you have such cases, or do you know someone in your circle, or do you have friends who have such shackles? At first, they gladly gave them loans. You saw them driving good cars, live in new houses. And then the crisis hit, and they were left out in the street. Most interestingly, when the financial sector takes away someone's real estate, movable property, they still owe money, because they have to pay a fine and past due interest. Therefore, dear friends, I urge you to move to the financial flow of a rich person. The financial flow of a rich person means correct allocation of funds. So what is the financial flow of a rich person? A rich person also has income and expenses, but a financially rich person understands what liabilities and assets are. They can also have loans, obligations, but they create assets all the time. The more assets they create, the bigger their income. What are assets? They can include real estate. They can include bank deposits, corporate or government bonds. They can include shares, cryptocurrency, different instruments, and in the Academy, we look into 20 sectors of the investment market and over 1,000 instruments, which people can use to create their own capital. When a rich person receives income, it is allocated on expenses and assets, i.e., income and expenses. And some expenses go to purchase assets. And some go to cover obligations. And since assets yield income, then accordingly the income of such a person becomes bigger and bigger. That's why to be a rich person doesn't mean to have lots of money. Yes, rich people have lots of money. But why did they receive lots of money? Because they managed their funds correctly. Let's assume you spend $1,000 a month, as mentioned before. You allocated your funds at 2% per month, 24% per year. Your monthly spendings are $1,000. Out of $2,000 each month, you can put aside 10% of all your income. If you receive income every day, put aside 10% and you can invest it into replenishing your assets. And assets can provide capital gains and income. This way, you move to the financial flow of a rich person. Do you want to move to the financial flow of a rich person right now? Then, after watching this video, go to the post office, buy an envelope, tag it 10% My Investment Contributions, and from every income that you receive, every day, possibly every week or month, you set aside 10% and put it into that envelope and start accumulating money. In the second rule, we are going to talk about the 5 commandments of a private investor in detail. And putting aside 10% is the first commandment, and start doing it right now. And you will be a rich person. You will live in the financial flow of a rich person. Even if you earn $1,000, even if you have $100 to spare, you can already move to the financial flow of a rich person. And now let's look closer at assets and liabilities. We already mentioned the financial flows of the poor, middle, and rich classes, assets and liabilities. When I hold an offline or online lecture, I always ask the audience whether they have real estate or a car, possibly a boat or a yacht. Many say, yes, we do. And I ask them, do you think they are assets or liabilities? Some say assets, others liabilities. And what do you think, dear friends? Are they assets or liabilities? Let's take a simple example. Say you live in an apartment that you own. You already paid off your mortgage, or you inherited this apartment. If you live in this apartment by yourself, then it is undoubtedly a liability. Why? You spend money on it, utility bills, the internet and telephone bills. You already spend money on utilities, which means it is a liability. Some people say it grows in price. Yes, it is a liability which can grow in price. Or they might say, I make money with my car, and I say how? I drive people around or carry cargoes. It's part of my business. Dear friends, it may be part of your business, but it still goes to the liabilities side. If you rent this apartment out and receive rental payment from it, or from your car or yacht or boat or anything else, then it becomes your asset. But if you use it yourself, then it is a liability. Assets are something that brings money without your participation. Let me give you an example. Imagine we have a balloon or a rubber ball, which we pump. We have attached it to a pump and started pumping. When we pump it ourselves, we work. It is our active efforts, you see? And that ball, or the balloon, has holes in it. One hole is our utility bills. A second one is our rent. Additionally, there are telecommunication services, the internet, food, household chemicals, and many other small holes representing our spendings. And the ball deflates, and you have to pump it again, correct? What are assets? Let's assume that we installed an electric motor on that pump, and from time to time you check the operation of that motor. And when it's on, it pumps your ball. It's a simplified example, but I hope you now understand how assets differ from liabilities. Therefore, remember, or better write down, that assets are something that brings you money, without your participation or with minimum participation. Once a week, once a month, you come, take a look, assess and receive some money, whereas liabilities are something that takes your money from you. So now we know what assets and liabilities are. And the last thing that we need to look into and learn in the first rule of a private investor is what investments are and how they differ from investing. Investments, dear friends, mean putting money into something with the goal of generating income or capital gains. It can be a bank deposit or government bonds, or cryptocurrency or shares of various companies in the stock market, or venture investments or equity participation. You give money to someone for their business expansion, and they pay you. You see? This is allocating money with the expectation of profits or capital gains. To clarify, let me give you a simple example. Say in 1976 you or your parents bought $10 worth of Apple shares from Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs says, "Guys, give me what you can spare, I'm launching Apple." Nobody knew Apple back then. And suppose you gave $10 and didn't take interest, dividends, and left the stock alone. Today, those $10 would have turned into tens of millions of dollars. You see? This is allocation of money with the goal of capital gains. And what is investing? Investing is understanding how your money can grow year on year, and how for each dollar that you invested, you can receive a return of $1,000 in 10 years. And not just receive, but understand how you can receive it, how that income can happen. Here's a simple example. Say you plant an apple tree seed, and that seed sprouts up and then turns into a sapling and gets covered with leaves. And when that apple tree is 5 years old, it starts giving some fruit. However, you can expect a decent harvest from that apple tree 8 or 10 years after you plant that seed. In 10 years, one apple tree can yield a huge number of apples. Some say you can get 150 kilograms of apples in one harvest. Let's take grapes. You plant a grapevine, and in 3-4 years, it can yield you 150, and sometimes 500 kilograms of grapes. Investing is very similar to planting a grapevine or an apple tree. I'm sure that after what you have just heard, you will have a clear understanding of what financial independence is, and how it is different from financial freedom, and what assets and liabilities are, and what the financial flows of the poor, middle, and rich classes are, and what investing is, and how it differs from investments. We said that investing meant understanding. In the next video tutorial, we will look into the 5 commandments of a private investor, which will help you understand and realize how soon you can become a rich person and how soon you can create $1 million capital or more. See you in the next video.